Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Oh, for God's sake. Good evening. Welcome to the Pivotal Podspective, the show where we get extraordinaires in their field from all over the globe to come and chat with us so that you and I and Adrian, in fact, all of us can learn new and pivotal ways, tips and tricks they have either for their clients or that work for them so that we can all learn to adopt these things, adapt them if it works for us and improve, level up, personally and professionally. And this evening, they slightly changed the format because we're going to just go with a different thing. We're going to try this out. If you're listening to this as a podcast, which will probably be in September, and I urge you to check out the live shows, which you do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, going across plenty of platforms. We'll tell you about that at the end of the show. If you're watching this, then you're going to know this is slightly different. But this evening, I messed this up a little bit. I'm your host, of course, Elliot Brown. Here with my co-host,
Adrian Durbantu.
Okay, and we've got that bit in now. And
yeah.
But you guys know that already. And we have our guest extraordinaire, transformation extraordinaire here this evening, all the way from just outside Melbourne in Australia, Ferne Eliz King. You've got a hell of a cheer there, didn't you, Fern?
Hello, Fern.
For a while. Thank you, Elliot and Adrian. We're in lockdown here, so there's no cheering anywhere.
Well, you've got a cheer. You've got the cheer this evening or this morning where you are. It's 6 o'clock in the morning there, right? 6
o'clock. That's right.
Thank you very much for joining us and getting up. Really, do you usually get up at this time, Fern?
I'm actually a 4:35 a.m. riser.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
So you're part of the 5 a.m. club.
That's it.
Or the 4:35.
All the difference. Or I just have too many things during the day to do and just trying to fit it in. So I just sort of say I sound professional and busy by getting up at 5.
and I'm sure you are. We had a little chat before we started recording. And
I'm curious, when did you start doing this routine and getting up at 5 a.m.?
Look, I think as a teenager, Adrian, my father was a farmer and he enjoyed coming in and waking us at 5 to go, do the chores and then come back in for breakfast. And then from a young child through to probably my 40s, I just was like, I'm not doing that. But then when I got to my 40s, I started doing it again. I thought, oh, my goodness, I'm turning into my parent, which I think we all start to do. So probably about 10, 15 years now, off and on, about, 4:35. And then if it's sleeping's about 6 or 7 o'clock.
Wow.
I'm asking just because we're doing a personal research about all our guest extraordinaires that we're talking with, and we want to see what's their, I think your daily routine, it's a very important part of your life and how you perform, and that's why this is just my personal project, trying to understand how those people do, in their daily routines.
I think some discipline, Adrian, whatever that discipline is for you, if you have some level of discipline in your life, you'll then be able to do things differently tomorrow than what you did yesterday. It's just a theory. Yeah.
Well, we've been changing the disciplines recently, that's for sure. Maybe we'll come across that, go cover that at some stage during this during the conversation. But you are so you're a rapid transformation coach. I mean, what is it you consider yourself? And we were talking about this before the show, that you've honed it down into that sort of that short sentence to describe what you are. So tell everybody what it is that you do, Fern, and and how you got there, because you've been doing this with huge corporate firms beforehand, and now it's very much about the SME. But so let's talk about and find out a little bit from you.
Yeah, look, I can talk underwater, Elliot and Adrian. So my chore in this is to keep to point. So thank you, Elliot, for being so clear on the questions. So my calling is to help people achieve their goals, and whether that's an individual or a business. Bottom line, help people achieve their goals. Then the art or the superpower, the technique is in the how. So the how is bringing together both an art and a science of change, how to do things differently tomorrow than what you did yesterday. And using the techniques of traveled the world, I've worked in large corporations, I've worked in professional services, which hire people out to help people change their businesses. And I did that for over 20, 30 years. I've had over $2.5 billion worth of change programs that I've helped managed globally.
Wow.
And now it's about taking that learning, adding to it my life experiences, the network that I have surrounding me, which is beautiful, and applying that art and technique to help people understand how they can more strongly achieve their goals. And a statistic, Elliot and Adrian, I'll take a breath. A statistic is only 3% of people actually write down their goals, what their dreams are in life.
Yeah.
And then only 8% of people achieve those. And the sad statistic is that aged population, when they are surveyed at the end of their lives, 60 plus, 70 plus, is only 10% actually say they lived the life of their dreams. They lived the life they wanted to live.
That's quite sad. Quite sad, isn't it? 10% of humanity, basically. Or actually, remember, then that's probably not all humanity, because they're not all going to get asked, are they? But that's a frighteningly low amount of people. Say
I will be honest. I think in reality, that number, if you ask everyone, probably it's even lower than 10%.
And my superpower, guys, is to shift that dial. Bottom line.
Cool.
Got goals and aspirations, because the imagination of imagining what would be the world would be like if more people achieve their goals and aspirations. You hear your friends talking, you hear your family, you hear your colleagues talk about, I'd like to do X, I'd like to do Y, and you think in your head, oh man, that'd be pretty cool if they did that, but hey, they probably won't, because there's too many barriers in the way. Imagine if we all achieve some of those aspirations and goals and what our world would be like. That's what inspires me. So that's my gig.
That's what you do. Well, thank Christ we've got you on the show then, because otherwise there's all these people are going to be watching and listening, and they're not going to know how the hell they're going to achieve these goals. But now we've got you here. All of our questions are going to be answered.
That's it.
I'm curious about something. Before we achieve the goals, can we start with how do we set the right goals, or how do we set goals and go from I want to win $1 million, I don't know, pounds, whatever you want to do, and that's it. That's the goal. So, which is a crappy one, because that's not really the end game of it. But how do you set the right goals?
I think to set the right goals, Adrian, you have to be very clear on what it is your passion, your love, what it is that you enjoy in your life. Too many people go for just the art. I'll just manifest. I'll think about it. I'll law of attraction. I'll just dream it, think it, be good to others, and I'll win that lotto ticket. I'll look at that lotto ticket and I'll dream about it. I'll put it under my pillow. I'll stroke it.
Witchcraft, voodoo, everything.
Well, it's adding to that the science. So to set your goals, you need to start with the foundation. It's the same as putting in a garden bed. You don't plant vegetables and fruit and just stick a seed in the ground and just hope for the best. You nurture, you put the right soil, you put the water on it. And it's the same with us as humans. We need a good mindset. We need to be emotionally strong to then be very clear on what it is for the goals we want to set for ourselves. So it's a bit like fine-tuning, Adrian. So taking that Ferrari, taking that supercar and saying, let's fine-tune the engine a little bit, and then let's see how far we can push it. So do some work on yourself, set some short-term, next week I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to go for a walk 3 mornings a week. Set some short-term sort of things while you strengthen your emotional strength, your mindset, being proud of you, believing in yourself. The most extraordinary person you will ever meet in your life is you. You have the answers.
It's a nice and powerful quote. So yeah.
And then once you're clearer on that foundation element, which we can't cover in 10 minutes, is then the goals for what you're wanting to do. Just start unraveling and come out of that work, Adrian. It's what's your passion, what's inside of you that sparks you to be the most extraordinary you that you could be.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So that's goal setting. But you've sort of taken a lot of things that you've learned of working with corporates, right, over the years, and it's about sort of applying a lot of those elements to the SME business owner now. Are they the sort of the people you work with, sort of entrepreneurs?
Right. A lot of individuals, a lot of people, you and I, we will start with the now today and then go, where is it that we want to get to? So we go what we call left to right. Yeah. So we start from today and we sort of try and muddle our way through. Mm-hmm. With corporate strategy, what you're doing is starting from the right. It's a completely different roadmap. You start with the right and work your way back, because what you're doing is every single action you're taking in your operating model is this action going to serve that future state? Right. And if it doesn't, stop it.
Okay.
We don't do that in our lives. We get up in the morning and we do 15, 20 things throughout the day because we did those 15, 20 things yesterday. Mm-hmm. We don't question whether is that action actually serving me getting to my goal of what I'm trying to achieve tomorrow. If anything, we say, I can't work on my future self because I've got to get the kids up in the morning. I've got to get to work. I've got to do my report for my boss. And then at the end of the night, go, I still have an aspiration to buy a house in Spain. I'm not going to be able to get to do that because I'll take annual leave next month and spend a week looking at what I can do. Yeah. Wrong way around. Start from the right, work back. Don't go left to right.
But the goal setting is a key thing to start the process. Do you sort of work your way back? Do you? I mean, I always ask this because I know a lot of people do. Is so you sort of almost like reverse engineer it. Do you tend to work like that? Do you?
Absolutely, and it's about inspiring the options, Elliot and Adrian. We only know what we know, and this is where again the nervousness I had about coming on the show is there's so many angles, right? It's like a rabbit warren. It's like where does the conversation go? It's
who knows where the conversation goes.
That's the joy of it, right? It's inspiring options. We only know what we know. If I talk about assumptions for a moment, when we walk into a room of people we don't know, we visually do a scan. And we automatically make assumptions. We make assumptions that Adrian is some maybe European background. Elliot, you look like, you're an English background. We automatically assume the education, the knowledge, what they bring to we make all these assumptions about our life and particularly people. And life is about people. And the idea is to gather around you people that you can trust, people that you can relate to, speak a common language. And that doesn't mean English or Russian. It just means a common way of thinking, values, and inspire people, inspire each other to think differently, listen differently. How many times have you heard people, can you please explain that again? Oh, hang on, I didn't quite understand that. Can you explain it again? Yeah. The person explained it 3 different times and the person's still going, and I feel like saying to them, can you listen in a different way? Listen with a different set of assumptions and what you're coming into this conversation with. So, Elliot, I think what I'm trying to get to there is that it's achieving goals and the road to achieve that goal. It's different for everybody.
Yeah,
there's arts and techniques that can help open us up to different way of thinking. Yeah, but it's a different journey for everybody, and I think that's the thing. You've got to understand the quality questions to ask so you don't get a shonky coach. You don't get a shonky strategic advisor. How many people out there are strategically advising businesses? Yeah. Do they know what they're doing?
We started talking about this before we started recording, and in fact we covered quite a lot of that there. There are a lot, unfortunately, there are a lot of coaches out there that I don't think it's even about being qualified, because I think probably some of the best coaches that are out there are not qualified. They're not qualified coaches. Now, I'm not belittling qualifications on coaching, but I think that there are a number of organizations, I'm not going to mention any names, that do training And it may well be somebody that thinks that they know quite a lot about business because they've been in a position for quite a long time. They go on a training course and then they come away with this strategic way that they're going to teach every single business owner a particular way, a particular process, a particular plan that is supposed to work for everybody. And there are a number of, franchises, coaching businesses out there, global businesses as well that do this. And I've met some of these guys. Oh, my God. Male and female. I don't mean guys as in just male. This is across the board. There is one company I can think of now, and they do that, and they are global. And every single person I've met, and I'm not saying they're all like that. Every person that I've met that's been on a networking evening, genuinely doesn't have a great idea about business. They have a process they work to, but they don't have the experience. Now, you've got experience, haven't you, in doing this with corporate businesses?
Yes.
And so that gives you a lot of credibility. It's a good question, actually. Do you have a coaching?
No. So this is the thing, guys. So I left school at 16, 16. I left school. I went to a TAFE. In New Zealand, it's like just a where to put wayward teenagers until they can be of age to then be, out on their own. That's sort of like the thing in our group.
Preparing you for life.
That's it. I learnt more in that 18 months at TAFE, Adrian, than I did at the school and the 10 years prior. The thing is, guys, I was at the top of my game. I worked for one of the big 4 consulting firms. I won't name who they are.
Okay, yeah.
I was one of 4. I was mentored and coached by the executive team because they saw in me, they saw a spark, they saw something in me that could achieve things extraordinary. And I worked on their merger and acquisitions. I worked globally around the world, helping them transformationally change their clients' businesses. Okay. And I got brought up in self-managed, self-owned home, family-owned businesses. So I knew the value of effort and of putting food on the table at the end of the day. And I was good with numbers. I was good with an operating model. I was good at making things efficient. And so it was life experiences. And look, I'm in my mid-50s now, guys, and I don't believe people in today's world are afforded those sorts of opportunities anymore. Yeah. You don't get into a big 4 unless you're at the top of your bachelor degree, whatever it is that you've done at university. So I think the road I've taken has been quite different to what's available to people now. But I think the road I've taken, Elliot and Adrian, also adds to my recipe book for the value that I can add.
Okay. So I love the fact that you've done that and you had that position in there and learned that way as well. It gives you serious credibility, to be fair.
And not just that, just to say, so Ferne, she's very modest, but we're not going to say the companies that she worked for, but she delivered program worth 2.5 billion worth of money. Okay, so yeah, definitely that gives a bit more credibility as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, Elliot, just on that coaching thing, people, it's knowing what question to ask, right? I don't think when you get your top 10% of coaches, the top percentage of the coaches that do it well, we all do the same thing. Then it's aligning yourself who you feel talks a common language, who you can relate to, who can help inspire you to do things differently.
Yeah.
But you've got to weed out the people who have done something once or twice and then call themselves then a coach.
Yeah, sure. So what is it that you do that makes you different from other people? What is it that they saw that in you that sort of made you different, that you've then obviously leveraged over the years or more recently to hone and create what you do and to help other people now to rapidly transform and actually achieve those goals that they didn't necessarily even know they wanted to aim towards.
That's right. So how, Elliot, was that the question?
Yeah.
What's your magic touch?
Yeah, what is it that you do differently? What is it? What makes you different from other coaches, for example?
Well, I think I'm extraordinary. And I don't mean that from an ego vain perspective.
Yeah.
I think think I'm extraordinary for the experiences I've had in my life and how I'm now building the courage to talk about that to an online audience, to reaching people in a different way. There are extraordinary people all over the world who have managed and driven $2.5 billion worth of change and more. But a lot of them just focus back into the corporate, and you see their names. You see their names on the front page of the newspaper. You see their names in magazines that sort of go, this person helped this company achieved XYZ. It's the extraordinary thing about myself is transitioning from a corporate to a public-facing role, which is really hard, because when you're doing delivery, you're the person behind the scenes. You're behind the executive, you're behind the CXO club, you're the person that's driving everything behind them, and they're the public face. The challenge now is that I'm now selling. And I've got this little thing in my head. It's not selling when it's a service. If somebody wants the service, it's actually not selling. But what I do differently, or what's my point of difference, is that experience base. Whether it be my lifestyle or childhood, the way I grew up, the experience of not having that cushioning upbringing, having some quite sharp edges during those early formative years, to having extraordinary people to mentor me throughout my life, being my mum, my dad, the people that I've worked with, and bringing those life experiences together in a way that inspires others to think of options. So my point of difference is I don't have the answers. I have experiences to help bring options and inspire others to think of options, and then a network of people that you can bring others in as something is required. If you run a small business and you're really challenged and you want to take it to a franchise, you want to really look at your balance sheet, there's knowing the right people that can help with that versus just go see the accountant that you've seen for the last 20 years who knows nothing about franchising, knows nothing about the complications, the legalities of it all. I don't know if that's answered, Elliot. It's really hard to do the point of difference, because the point of difference is the individual as a coach, their experiences.
I think probably what would help is if you give us, we can do this two ways. Me and Elliot, we can say some of our goals, or you can tell us some of the people that you've worked with and what kind of goals did you work with them to achieve. So Ferne, you decide which way to go.
Which way do you want to go?
I want to hear your guys' goals. I think that could be fun.
Oh my God.
Okay, cool. Elliot, you start. I came up with the idea, you start.
Yeah, cheers. What sort of goal? What, as in a personal achievement,
personal,
or
anything.
business achievements?
Those 7 wives, anything.
Throw me in the deep end, Elliot. Whatever comes to your mind.
Okay. One of the main goals is to have a group of companies that basically feeds everybody that is involved with them. It's something that we're building at the moment, and we're very early days with it. But the ultimate idea is that we have something that works for everybody. Everybody has a part of it. Everybody earns well from it and gets rewarded for working in it and builds it together. It's important to me for everybody around me to be earning well and comfortably, and we all feel like we're achieving something together. Okay, so that's one goal. The other goal is that I want a 70-meter yacht and 7 supercars and 7 properties around the globe. So I'm not really asking for a lot, to be fair.
I think second goal is really easy. There are plenty of games where you can get all that. But GTA is one of them, maybe.
No, they're not games. This is reality.
Okay, cool. In reality.
Thanks for that, Elliot. So your second goal, Elliot, I would say that they aren't necessarily goals. They'll be an outcome of you achieving that first goal.
Which is why I've told you what I want to do first, because that's a byproduct of the success, to be fair, yeah. That's it.
I've just got a message coming up on my screen. You guys can't see anything on my screen, can you?
No.
I can't believe they said that. Oh, my God. No, we can't see it.
It's not a software thing that's coming up. Okay, and so on your first goal, Adrian, Elliot, what I would, I'm just making sure Adrian's not yawning because he was tired.
No. I'm into it now. I'm into the flow.
Good, you're into the flow. So, Elliot, what I would do, an example of your first goal is really do some work on bringing that to life, bringing the values to life. What are the values and the traits that you would need to make sure that we're prioritized to achieve that goal of having, you know, a company that can help feed others, and it's a network and it's expansive? What are the values? What are the traits that you would like to exhibit within that company? You don't even get to the how. You don't even get to, are you going to sell widgets? Are you going to do communication? Are you going to, it's not about the how, it's about the essence. It's about the core. Because once you're very clear on the core and the values, then you end up attracting people with the same values. And having people with the same values doesn't mean you do everything differently. It just means that you can talk the same language, you got the same passion, you got the same outcome. And then once you're very clear, and there's like 39 questions I run through in a workshop, and inspiring sort of conversation, being very clear on your why, being very clear on your values, being very clear on what I call you and them.
Yeah.
And then being your target audience. Who is it that you're wanting to provide the service to? And still not going into the what.
Yeah.
Who is it that you're wanting to provide the service to? What do they look like? What's their niche? What's their sub niche? What is their need? Who says they actually need the thing, the feeling that you're wanting to give them? Really starting at the value and the need and attracting that, and then working a plan back from that. And it's just going into, there's a whole thing around granularity of growth that Anderson's did years ago, which many corporates use. And from a personal perspective, there's a Ikegi wheel that Japanese businesses use on bringing it all together. It's the combination of the art and the techniques, Elliot. But I don't know if I've used too many consulting jargon words in there. It's
I get what you're saying.
You've used a bit, so that's why, you know, I'm sorry, Elliot, ask whatever you want, because I'm going to tell my goal after that.
Yeah. Let's go.
So we had the business goal, all right? That was Elliot's, and he talked about business. Now let's talk a bit about personal goals. So my personal goal is that in the next 3 months, I want to be the fittest that I've ever been in my life in terms of like performing. And that means I would like to be very disciplined, get in shape again, you know, be able to follow some tight schedules and all that, and please myself first and after my customers. So how do I achieve that?
It would be spending some time understanding and researching and being given the right reading material and conversations, podcasts, thinking about what actually is the mechanics for a human to change their behavior. And it's not doing something sequentially for 21 days, 28 days in a row. That does not change habits or behavior. It's understanding the science of change in regards to a human. And those are your goals. And it's thinking, okay, then how do we get the brain and the gut actually believing and wanting and needing those things? Because then the actual action becomes just part of your day-to-day mechanism. Because then you're not trying in your head, you're not trying to change a habit. You're trying to be the best you in the best form, to be the most extraordinary you. And that's not just about the exercise and fitness. It's about your mindset, your whole body, the way you think about yourself, and then the exercise and getting that fitness, Adrian, then is an outcome of all of that coming together.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
I feel like I'm on the spot.
That's why
we did definitely put you on the spot there, Fern. Listen,
yeah, we tend to do that sometimes.
A couple of people have.
I think, sorry, Elliot, Adrian, I think a lot of people around fitness and diet, it's all, everything we get fed is just do something differently. Just get up and do it differently tomorrow. Do it for 21 days. Make it a habit, and it'll happen. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So it's not that just so fitness and diet is just a part of it, and that's why. Hence, when I've asked you for how long when did you study waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's why that's what I'm doing now. So I'm already studying people way more than I've done before, trying to understand habits and patterns and see exactly what works for most people. I know they're very extraordinaires and things like that, and that it's because fitness and diet, they're very good, and I know they're going to help you go through the day quite well, but it also needs to be on the mindset, and you need to be very focused on what you're doing.
Yes. I journal. I get up early and I journal at least 3 or 4 times a week, Adrian. And I find journaling being the most powerful tool to be able to change what it is that I'm wanting to do and achieve my goals.
Do you think that is because that's one of the moments where you have maybe the most honest conversations with you?
I believe so. And it's also, there's a science behind writing something down. There's a science there, and there's facts and figures, and Forbes, write about this in their analytics, is people who write their goals or aspirations or thoughts down more quickly get over their challenges and problems and more quickly achieve the outcomes and goals that it is that they're wanting to achieve.
Okay. Well, I mean, I write a lot of stuff down that I don't necessarily do straight away, but I do try to write a lot of things down. We've got a couple of people who made a few comments. My mum, who's your top, our biggest fan, of course, is as always says hello. Says hello to you.
Hello, Elliot's mum.
Mum says hello. Bad reception. We have a Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but I think you probably have to register your name if you've seen that. But thanks for the OK sign. Hi, Mike, Alison, thanks for joining us. And Mike says, do people really ever change? Good question. Do they really ever change, Ferne?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
There you go, Mike. You've heard it from the change master and the rapid transformation extraordinaire, Ferne. That yes, they do. How do they? Because let's face it, it's difficult to change sometimes. Humans. Absolutely. Humans generally, it's easier not to change sometimes, and they're scared of change. I like change. If I get too comfortable, I like to. Well, I don't know. I don't even know that I like to change it, but I seem to chuck a spanner in the works that makes it change, and then that puts me at unease and anxiety driven for a while. But it in essence does make change, doesn't it? These are things that really do make change. Chuck a spanner in the works.
That's it. And if you put it in this way too, gentlemen, our brain does not have eyes. Our brain is a matter within a very dark, closed space. It only takes action on what we say to it and what we have it feel. And so the brain rejects things that are unfamiliar. So if something is unfamiliar, our brain, scientifically proven, will reject it. So if we're dreaming of this life that we want to have that is so divorced from where we are today, and we don't think about it, we don't dream about it, we don't write it down, the brain's not familiar with it. So as we're starting to move towards it, it'll reject it because it's unfamiliar. And you see that with women in abuse, or people, I should say, in abusive relationships. If they're in an abusive relationship, it's familiar. How do they aspire to be somewhere different and make that familiar? Our brain does not have eyes. What we tell our brain, thinking in the messages that we tell our brain, I got a job interview on Wednesday. I'm not going to do very well at that. Oh God, I'm hopeless at that. I get so nervous at job interviews. Oh my God, I don't want to be doing that. I really don't want to do it. So then morning when you wake up, you got diarrhea, you got, something goes wrong, you missed the bus, the kids have dropped food all over your lap, your husband's walked out the door really grumpy, and you go, right, that's the universe. The universe is telling me I should never have gone for that job interview. No. That's your brain going into survival mode because you've told it all week that you don't want to do something. Yeah. So it thinks you're getting chased by a lion. It's going into survival mode because that's what our brain does. It looks after us. So it's stopping you from actually going to the job interview because you didn't want it.
Yeah.
Rather than, I'm really nervous about going to that job interview next week, but I'm going to be my best. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to be my extraordinary me, and I'm just going to see what happens.
Yeah.
Your brain is going to make sure that you're on time, you're schmick, the kids are all taken care of, your husband's kissing you as he's going out the door, and you turn up the job interview and what will be, but you've done your best.
Very good point. And I love it when my husband kisses me when I'm going out the door, to be fair. Mike Allison sort of come back and he sort of said, I thought people's ideology and personalities were formed and fixed in concrete from the age of 7 years, and then says self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yes.
I mean, there are people that do say that there's a lot that is set in stone at that sort of age. However, there's a lot of people that also make huge amounts of changes in their life from that as well. So I don't know that. I do know that, generally they do say that, but, there's a lot of us that completely continue to evolve. Adrian and I are on a quest to speak to as many people about pivoting and changing and ways that you can change personally, and things that you can do for your business. So, there definitely is a lot of changes you can make, and you can change your habits. Listen, I, for one, have changed my habits recently, for sure. In the last week, I'm getting up at different times and going to bed differently. I'm doing different things in the mornings, and definitely feel much better for it. And I wish I'd done this years ago, but then I also had a conversation with somebody this week that if I'd have done that years ago, would I have then had the experiences that I've gone through in the last 20 years? Possibly not. So there's a reason why it's happened.
Yes.
I'm closer to that 50 than I am 40 now, Fern. So we were talking about age earlier on. That's where I am, and I'm definitely changing more now than I probably have changed for the last a couple of years anyway. And
there's people that go to university for a very long time to do this stuff. There's a couple called Fortenberry Murray. It's a husband and wife. I think they're in their 60s. They're scientists, psychologists. That's how I describe them. And They talk about the science of the human nature, because they believe that for us to manage the change we need to manage in the world going forward from this point forward, it'll be quite different to how we've managed it historically. And if we try and manage our world going forward the same way we've always tried to manage it, we won't be successful. So it's I appreciate what the reader is thinking, but it's lifting up from that and saying, as humans, what is our potential? And not being stuck in that we are who we are by 7, and that's who we are for the rest of our lives.
Well, thank Christ we haven't stayed there, because I can't remember but my 7 when I was 7, to be fair. And and what I was doing at 7, I don't think I'd get away with now. I'd maybe try.
You would probably, if you do a YouTube channel, that would work.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So when you're working, you're working with these, the smaller businesses now, and you're implementing some of the the strategies and sort of the processes that the huge corporates, the sort of 5%ers of the world, and now you're sort of imparting that to the 90% of the sort of business world, because let's face it, SMEs make up, I think it's 90% these days of the world businesses, and MSMEs are, can be multi-million-pound companies. I mean, can be turning over tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, probably SMEs these days. Yeah. And
it's more about the reach they have, Elliot, than the turnover. It's how many people they impact.
And that's it. Absolutely. But it's I think it's the ability to change as well that the SMEs have that the bigger guys don't.
Right.
And so taking some of that and then putting that into the smaller business, the micro businesses as well, for sure, means that you can sort of operate in a slightly different way, but with the same mindset maybe as somebody that's up there in a huge corporate business. When you're doing that, do you see, you talk about rapid transformation because that's what you do, but do you see a very, very, rapid change in the way they work and their business as well?
Yes, absolutely. And again, it comes down to the people. Right. Yeah. It comes down to a person's willingness and wanting to do things differently and being open to those options, and how quickly they're wanting to either accelerate and achieve that outcome, and the difference that change will make to others. Mm-hmm. So, yes, you can see some move quite rapidly, and because we're all, humans, there's others that'll just want to go at a slower pace. They want to be really comfortable with something before they take the next thing. So quite often, we've all heard of the 80-20 rule. Well, in business, it's quite often the 60-40 or 50-50. And it's being comfortable at the 50-50, 60-40 to take that step. Don't wait till you're 80-20 or 90-10. It's too late. You'll get surpassed by somebody else.
Yeah. So if I was to come to you as an SME business owner and I was like, I've got those goals, I've got the goals that I want to have, and we've been working for 3, 4, 5 months, and I haven't seen much progress, because sometimes that happens, right? I've worked with clients for sure in the last couple of years where there has been change. They haven't seen the change, and they haven't really noticed it because of either arrogance or the fact that they think they've made the difference, and they haven't necessarily seen the impact that you've had there as well. I'm assuming, the assumption is the mother of all fuck ups, of course, but I'm assuming that you experienced that as well. How do you deal with that situation?
Making it very clear up front. What is the measurement of success? So when you're a coach and when you're working with the business or consulting to anybody, you've got to have that hard conversation is, what is the measurement of success? And when is that measured? Is it progressive, or is it in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? Like, let's be very clear on what we believe success looks like. Because if that is so far off the dial that it's unachievable, you walk away. Like, as a consultant, particularly, you work with some corporates or SMEs and they go, well, I don't want to double my turnover. I want to have a positive balance sheet within, 12 months. I want to have staff engagement that's, double what it is now. I want to double my customer base. I want to have the customer journey, the experience of my customers, exceed all my competitors within 12 months. And it's like, well, okay, that's great for aspirational goals. What's the good, the great, and the awesome goal of that? So let's create a range so that we're clear, and let's have good as your bottom end and awesome as your top end. And then if we land somewhere in between that, that's great.
Yeah.
And realistically have those conversations. Don't just start on a journey and not understand how you're going to measure your success for it.
Well, Mike's been busy, making some comments over here. So let's just quickly go through those. Self-fulfilling prophecies was before. Leopards don't change their spots, apparently. Your subconscious mind remembers every minute detail. Not quite sure what that was you can't change your DNA. He's a busy boy, Mike. Assume made an ass out of you and me. Yeah, that's an old one.
That's a riddle.
I prefer assumption is the mother of all fuck ups, to be honest, because it is.
I wanted to just.
Sorry, Adrian.
Sorry, Fern. No, you go first, please.
I was just going to say, on the memory, your mind remembers everything. The mind is a very complex beast, right? And a friend. There's a technique that trauma patients. So you're driving along the road, you unfortunately come across a horrific road accident, and you're the first on the scene. And I don't even describe what you see in front of you, but it's now in your mind. It's in your visual. It's in the front lobe of your mind. It's in a memory that you go to bed that night, you get up the next day, you can't work the next week because that memory keeps recalling in your mind. There are techniques that doctors and specialists do to help ensure that memory moves to a different place in your brain, so it's not an unconscious recall, that you only recall the memory when you consciously go, oh, that time that I come across that horrific accident on the road, but they have techniques for trauma that shifts that placement of that memory in your brain. And I'm no doctor or specialist in this area, whatever, but I think what I'm trying to get across is the power of the brain and the power of specialist people in our communities that can help us manage that thing that's in our head. So that was just to help out with that comment of our memory holds memories. Yes, it does. But our recall of that can be managed.
What were you going to ask, Adrian?
I just want to ask, how important is to have someone, either a coach, either an accountability partner, or someone that will tell you, "Congrats, you've done well," and when you go on a journey like this to try to fulfill your goals rather than do it yourself only?
I think it's a hard one, Adrian, because we have to stand on our own. You have to find your inner strength. You have to be happy with your own accolade. You have to be comfortable that you're standing in front of the mirror every morning and saying, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of the journey I'm taking. I love who I am. Be inspired by others if you can be, and take that feedback and put it into the mix. But we've got to find that thing within us, because I also believe so many people in life look for inspiration in others and then use that as an excuse. And if I take a person living in a tiny village in the backdrops of Africa or India, and they don't have, for the want of a better description, they don't have go-getters, they don't have a world of inspirational people around them, but they find a way to find their inner strength and rise above the poverty, rise above the day-to-day items that they're involved in, and find it within themselves to do something different. So, Adrian, if people can afford themselves in an environment that they can get online, or they can be around or surrounded by people that can provide them that inspiration, that's an accelerator. But the core of it is finding it within yourself. And whether you've got an accelerator or not, you'll get there. It's just how much more quickly you'll get there than possibly you'll get without the human encouragement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fair comment. And a final one from Mike Allison. Ferne, are you based in the UK? Ferne is based just outside Melbourne. Whereabouts did you say you are roughly?
Kinglake West and Kinglake, just north of Melbourne, Melbourne property, yeah.
Yeah, nice. And where can people find you then, Ferne, if they would like your rapid transformational help?
Yep, FerneElizKing.com, and there's an area there you can book a 30-minute free consult just to have a chat and see if there's a resonation. I've got online programs, coaching, but FerneElizKing.com.
Perfect. Great stuff. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us. I was going to say for getting up early, although you didn't get up early, as we've learned earlier in the show. You're part of the 4:35 a.m. club. But you're going to have a good day today. I'm assuming you're going to have a great day, and you've got some good clients to work with today. You've got lots planned. Have you? Do you plan your days out systematically?
Yes, I do. I try and have Friday for my daughter. She's 7, so I try and have Friday for her. But I'm very, very lucky. She's a late sleeper, so she doesn't get up to like 9:30. So I use that morning, get my jobs done, and then spend a day laughing and giggling with her. So that's my Fridays typically.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And also, when do you do your plan for the next day? You do it the day before, or you do it just in the morning when you wake up?
I set really strong weekly goals, Adrian. So of a Sunday evening, I'll set really strong goals for myself for the week. And then I check on those throughout the week. And if I haven't achieved those or look like I'm achieving those Thursday and Friday, I'll readjust Thursday and Friday to then go hard on those. But I set weekly goals, and then I set quarterly and annual goals. Nice.
Well, there's a lot to be learned from that, and definitely goal setting is the key for sure. I've often end on this one, because I've often over the years, people used to say about put dreams in place, and I always used to correct everybody and go, no, set them as goals. Dreams aren't necessarily real, but goals are achievable. It's something I've used for many, many years. Well, listen, thank you very much, Ferne Eliz King. It's been an absolute pleasure getting you on the show. Thank you for joining us. There are links around the posts and things that we do, so that people can find you. And it's been inspiring, learning a little bit more from another coach from slightly different angles, and somebody that's bringing that huge corporate world into the smaller world and the SMEs at the moment. These are the companies, the micro businesses, the SMEs, the SMBs of the world. We all are the people that are going to be helping to save the economies definitely over the next few years and bringing ourselves out of this depression that everybody is talking about, which I think is just a shift. It is just a shift, guys. We've got a lot to learn, and if you want to learn more, then I absolutely urge you to keep on watching what we're doing with these shows, keep on listening. We have got more extraordinaires to come, like Fern, like the other people that we've had, more coaches, more experts, extraordinaires in their field that we can all learn something from. Thanks very much, Fern. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Fern. Thank you, Elliot.
If you want to know more about what's going on at Essex Business Radio, and I did say we're going to say it this week, but next week we've got something to tell you about what we're doing.
By the end of this month.
No. Next week I've got something to tell you about Essex Business Radio. I've already started putting a couple of things in place, so we shall be telling you about that on Tuesday, and there will be a way you'll be able to listen to this slightly differently as well. That's all I'm going to say for now. Yes, if you want to know what is going to be going on, if you don't get a chance, you can always watch these again on Facebook, and you can watch them on YouTube, of course, and you will be able to catch all of these on podcasts coming up very, very soon as well. That's all going to be linked in what I'm going to be telling you about next week. So thanks for watching. You can catch us on social media, of course, Essex Business Radio. Apart from that, Twitter is Essex Biz, BIZZ Radio, and otherwise, get over on YouTube, subscribe, be informed when we're coming on, or make sure you follow us on Facebook and we'll be alerted when we're going on the lives, which is Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays at 9. And I've got a feeling we're going to be changing that in a couple of weeks to 7 p.m. UK time. So watch out next week for some news on that as well. Adrian's looking forward to it because he can barely keep his fucking eyes open. But anyway, listen, thanks very much for watching. Thanks for listening if you're listening to this on a podcast. Of course, don't forget to download the Essex Business Radio app where you can get all the podcasts as well. And we're going to be updating that with brand new podcasts as of next week. Very, very exciting stuff. Thanks very much, guys. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. So I'm going to say ciao for now.
Brown cow.